Well, thank you all. Thank you all for coming. I want to first acknowledge that it's been a tough day today. And it's been a tough day for a lot of us. Obviously, it's been a tough day for Coach Frost and our coaching staff and our players. I also want to say that this is a day that I'd hoped would never come. And I want to thank Coach Frost. I've had the opportunity to get to know Scott a little bit and have really come to appreciate him. Scott worked really hard here. Scott loves Nebraska. He'll always be a Husker. He's a Nebraskan, and he worked really, really hard here. He really wanted this thing to work. And I can tell you that I really wanted this thing to work. Our donors wanted it to work. Everybody wanted it to work. And so, in a way, it's unfortunate and sad that we're here today. So I want to thank Scott. I also want to thank Mickey Joseph for taking on this role. I felt like there's 9 games left in the season. And I think we owed it to the players, we owe it to our fans, to give these players an opportunity these last 9 games. We've got good players on this football team. And so having a different voice and having some new energy and enthusiasm, I'm hoping can make a difference for this team. And then third and finally, I think at the end of the day, there has to be accountability. When you run a professional organization that has high standards, accountability has to matter. And Scott and I talked about this very clearly. 16-31 obviously was not at a level that was acceptable to us. So I met with Scott this morning at 11 o'clock. I'll just kind of walk you through the process of the day. I met with Scott at 11 o'clock and informed him. I want you to know that Scott was extremely collegial and he understood. I wasn't surprised because I know how much Scott loves this place. And I think that's really important. We then both had an opportunity to go down and meet with the team. We sent an email to our team. Most of the team was here, so we got to meet with our team. And Scott was with me, and I thanked the team, and I thanked Scott in front of the team for all of his hard work. I think the team really cares about Scott, and I know Scott really cares about the team. I then gave Scott an opportunity to spend time himself with the team. And so we all left, and Scott spent time with the team, and those conversations will remain with the team and Scott. And then finally, I invited Mickey Joseph, and Mickey came in about 11:45 and spoke to the team and walked them through some of the changes that he envisioned. I communicated to Mickey that Mickey's the head coach. I won't meddle in Mickey's decision-making process. I encouraged Mickey to be the head coach and make decisions as the head coach. And so he'll ultimately have an opportunity probably with all of you to explain. I think there will be some changes. Explain some of the changes with the team. There'll be some structural changes and things that I think Mickey believes in, which will be good going forward. He can explain all that to you. Just want to tell you a little bit about the process going forward, and we'll open it up to questions. Obviously, we're going to do a national search. We're going to engage some third-party help, mostly for logistics and other things. I want you to know as well, and I would encourage our fans and everyone to recognize there will be a lot of rumors out there. There's going to be a lot of innuendo. I want you to know that these sort of decisions and processes are not made in a silo. I have a lot of great mentors and friends that we'll be working with. And ultimately, in a prior life, I have relationships with a lot of coaches in this business, and I intend to reach out to a lot of people. And so if you hear that Trev Alberts reached out to XYZ coach, it doesn't mean that I've offered the job to XYZ coach. I think there's some fabulous coaches out there that have a perspective about our job that I could benefit from. And so I'm going to reach out to a lot of people. And so if you hear that Trev Alberts reached out to XYZ coach, it might very well be true. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to hire that coach. I'd like to get that perspective. I'd like to get a perspective of a coach who isn't here right now about our job and what the uniqueness is and the needs and those sorts of things. So just want to be clear about that process. Obviously, there's been some changes in college football with the early signing date and transfer portal. There are considerations as we go forward as well. But most importantly, I'm going to do everything I possibly can, like I think we did for Scott, to support Mickey Joseph and his staff as best we possibly can. It's a group of young men that they're hurting, and they care deeply about this place. And so we're going to do everything we can to support them and help them. They've got 9 games left. We've got a great opportunity this weekend against Oklahoma, and so we're going to support them as best we can going forward. All right, I guess we'll open it up from comments and questions here.
Why now as opposed to October or the end of the season?
It's a good question. It's a fair question, Annie. It's at this point, I just felt like, as I mentioned earlier, we owed it to the players, to give them a different voice, perhaps slightly different vision, give them some confidence, an opportunity. We've got 9 games. We've got seniors on this team that have invested a lot for a long time. And I know how disruptive these changes are. You're not just affecting the player's life, you're affecting all the coaches and their family, and I understand that. But we needed to do something. We needed to inject something into this team to give them the confidence and hopefully help them compete. Nothing would please me more than to see a pretty significant change and help this team get over the hump and win some games.
The buyout was supposed to drop in half on October 1st. How did you handle that? Was there a negotiated settlement, or does Scott get the $15 million?
There's no negotiated settlement. The University of Nebraska has a long history of living up to what we've agreed to, and so the contract is what the contract is, and of course the university will comply as we always do.
Did you have to summon any outside help from boosters?
I won't get into any discussions about outside boosters or any of that sort of thing. But
Trev, when did you actually make the decision? Last night?
yeah, I think last night. Not a lot of slept. Didn't sleep a lot, Andy, and a lot of us didn't. But some real concern throughout the first couple games, and wanted this thing to work. Wanted to give a little extra time, and I think last night, and then through the night, and then into this morning, I really felt like we needed to make a change.
If they won, would that have changed? Like if they could stop?
I don't know, Sam. I mean, I don't want to get into the what ifs if they stopped here on 3rd down or got this. I mean, I don't think that's really healthy. We are where we are. We're 16-31, and I want to give this group of players an opportunity to have a different voice to try to win some games this year.
Do you have a short list of coaches you're considering at this point? Would you probably just start with a very broad?
Well, Steve, I want to first of all, we have not engaged in any third-party folks. I have not talked to any agents of any football coaches. We were all in to help Scott be successful. Everybody wanted Scott to be successful, and I believe Scott wanted Scott to be successful as well. So, listen, anybody in my position has a group of folks that they admire. At the end of the day, for us, we need to, get some clear definitions about what those coaching qualities look like. What is our unique culture need in terms of coaching, and ultimately, what is our culture going to be as a team? So, there's a group of people that I'm well aware of and interested in, would like to talk to, and we'll go through that as we move forward. But right now, in the immediacy, Steve, we've got an opportunity to support the team as they move forward.
What chance does Mickey Joseph have to earn the job on the team?
Well, I met with Mickey, and I told him, we were going to do a national search, and so we'll continue to do a national search, and we'll see how the season unfolds. But I think we have an opportunity, to hire an outstanding coach that can lead our program, and I'd love to see Mickey, grow into that, and we'll just see where it goes. But again, we'll do a national search, and if at that point, Mickey is an obvious candidate, he'll be part of that conversation as well.
Trev, where do I guess, what kind of expectations do you have for the program now? I mean, what do you think the ceiling is, and where would you like the team to go from here?
Well, I won't get into specific, ceilings or where to go. Listen, we've said all along, I'd just love to see this team continue to grow, compete, make progress, have a team that represents the values of Nebraskans, be tough, win the line of scrimmage, do the fundamental things that teams need to do to win games, and I think we can get there. We'll stop talking about championships or stop talking about things we used to do. We'll just get really process-oriented, detail-oriented, and ultimately when you start doing those fundamental championship habits type things, as I think about them, those types of wins and things follow. But we need to stop focusing on that. We need to start focusing on those small fundamental things that ultimately lead to those types of things. And so those are the things we'll do.
What are 3 or 4 qualities that you really want in a good head coach? You hire many head coaches at other places. I'm talking intangibles, not necessarily, resume.
Sam, I've always believed that, great coaches are people of character. I think they're people managers. They're culture builders. I think they're grinders. A lot of the great ones don't have a whole lot of hobbies. It's all they know, And, so those types of things. And I think young people, as we've moved forward, have changed a little bit. So I think being able to identify and relate to the modern student athlete and all that they're going through and all of the new things like NIL and all those types of things are very important. But the basic fundamentals of authentic leadership, is this somebody that the players are willing to follow? It's just basic types of leadership things that are really, really important to me. And I like people who hate to lose. I like people who hate to lose more than they enjoy winning. And I got to be really careful when I say those things, because I certainly don't mean to infer and imply that our previous coach didn't have those things. And I want to be very clear about that. That's not fair to Scott. What I'm saying is that's what I have found. No matter if it's a football coach, basketball coach, or a volleyball coach, there's some very core and key fundamental characteristics that help to define each of them. And those are the types of things that I believe in as well.
Trev, when you look at the coaching market and just the salaries and how much they've gone up, how competitive can Nebraska be in this current market of coaching salaries?
Yeah, I'm well aware of where the market has shifted in terms of compensation, and at a place like Nebraska, we're blessed to be in a position to meet market demand, and certainly resources won't be an impediment towards hiring the type of coach that we want to lead the Husker program.
One more advice on you that just didn't work.
Andy, I haven't put a lot of thought into that, Andy, but I thought it would work, and listen, we all have short memories, but Scott Frost was among the absolute leaders in that cycle of coaching, and Scott's a good football coach. Scott's going to go on and be a successful coach. I told him that this morning. And he agreed. Scott's a good football coach, and the right situation for him will emerge, and I think he'll be very successful. I was determined to work with him and try to balance, Andy, that very delicate balance of not meddling, because it's the last thing I think administration should do, is start dictating to coaches how they operate their deal, but be supportive. And but it is what it is. It didn't work, and that's why we're here today.
What are some of the specific qualities Mickey has that made him right for this role?
Well, Mickey's an energetic guy. Some of you have interacted with him already. He's pretty black and white, and I was in there when he talked to the team, and he, I think, sees this as a real opportunity for him as well, professionally, and all of you will get a chance to talk to Mickey. I think he has an infectious personality. I think that's important. He's been some places, so I think that benefits him. I think he has some different feelings about structure and approach and how he'll handle practice and some different things. So there'll be some immediate, fairly significant changes into his approach. And he had a very poignant conversation with the team today that I thought they took very well. And at the same time, I think, like Scott, Mickey will love them and seek to serve them.
This being a unique program, what sort of qualities do you look for in a person to run this kind of program? From that specific standpoint, just the intense interest and all that.
Well, I don't know if there's anything specific to how magnified the role is. I certainly think it has to be somebody that has a servant leadership mentality, that's here to serve young people, that perhaps sees a picture bigger than themselves, if you will. But I don't think anything specific. Every single job in college football has challenges. This job has advantages to other jobs, and it has some disadvantages. It's the same thing with every job in college football. We have 1.8 million people in this state. That's not going to change. But we got some built-in advantages here. So we need to play to our strengths and build on those, right? And so the right kind of coach, I think, sees this as an opportunity to rebuild and build something special here.
How do you think it works? I mean, you've been here now for however many games, 15 games. Why do you think Nebraska was 4-11 in those games?
Sam, I don't know. And, and I'm not trying to be flippant with you. If I knew, we would have made some changes. I don't know the answer to that question.
Did you see something in cross-coaching style, whether in practice or in games, that disappointed you or frustrated you?
I could spend a lot of time. I don't want to spend a lot of time going backwards and looking at and evaluating Scott, only because I think at this point it's a little unfair to Scott. We've moved on. Certainly there's things that you observe and you'd see and you'd say, well, maybe I'd do something different. We would have conversations. But at the end of the day, Scott Frost was the head coach. And I promise you, Scott made decisions that he thought were in the best interest of the University of Nebraska. They were genuine. He believed that in his heart. Okay? And so that's really important. I don't want to spend a lot of time evaluating Scott's performance over the last 5 years. I think, at the end of the day, Scott's no longer the head coach here, and we'll move on and look forward to. I think you'll see some of those changes and you'll get to talk to Coach Joseph about that. But mostly I just want to salute Scott, and, he'll always be a Husker, and he's from the great state of Nebraska and always be welcome here, and we want to support him in that role.
What's when you talk about timeline, do you ideally want to have a coach in place, whether it's Mickey or it's someone else, right after the season? Or how long is that, do you envision that taking?
Well, I do think there's some benefits in terms of making the decision when we've made it. I think this gives us an opportunity to really, do the necessary work. We need to dive into a real process and a detail-oriented process that talks to a lot of people. And that's why I mentioned earlier, you're going to hear about a lot of names. That's good. That means we're going to talk to a lot of people because we're going to clearly define what our values are, and we're not going to hire coaches who don't believe in what we believe in, Sam. And so we need to take as long as it takes to find the right leader. So is there an ideal timeline? Sure. I mean, you could naturally look at some of these timelines, early signing date, and say it'd be really nice to be able to get the person in place by then because it would allow us to do that. But we won't make decisions or rush things just to get a coach hired. We're also not going to try to win the press conference. All right? At the end of the day, we need to hire the right leader and the right fit. And that's a really important thing here as well.
We talk to the recruits at all, or we have a chance to visit with the recruits, or we let the coaches just kind of handle that from here on out?
I'll do whatever Mickey asks me to do. I really enjoy talking to the recruits, prospective recruits. You've probably seen me out on the field, and I really enjoy talking to those young men. I will do anything I possibly can to be supportive of the football coaching staff, but I will not get in the way. And so ultimately, what I would do with Scott is every time we talked, I'd ask, how can I help? Am I doing anything that's counterproductive? I'll do the same thing with Mickey. What can I do to help? I want him to be successful because ultimately that means our young men are being successful. So I'll do whatever Mickey and the staff ask me to do.
Trev, for you personally, do you feel like the hiring of this next coach will define your tenure as Nebraska's athletic director?
Well, I think you guys will probably define my tenure. That's how it works. But no, I don't think about those kinds of things. I'm no different than Scott. I love the University of Nebraska, and like I said earlier, I really hoped that the day I got introduced here as the athletic director that I'd never have to be doing this. I really thought that I could work with Scott, and that's what everybody wanted. So we'll do the right things. We'll do the best that we can. Every decision we make here, whether it's right or wrong, we'll learn later, but they are always done with what we think is in the best long-term interest of the University of Nebraska and our athletic department. And this place will always be bigger than any one person. And that is the way it has to be. And so we'll do the very best that we can. and we'll dive into the details. We'll surround ourselves with good people,